Hello everyone, this is Mr. Mola with the 7.2 puzzle time, and the joke for this one is, how did the doe win the race? So remember, with this section, there's 3 ways of how to do it. The book kind of explains it that first way that I don't really like with the blocks there, and then they go into the FOIL method, which is just fine, and then they do the Punnett square method last, which is the one I like best. So I'm going to do this first one with the FOIL, and I'm going to do the next 3 with the Punnett square. So remember, FOIL actually stands for something. So the F in FOIL stands for first. So that's the first 2 things in both parentheses. So you're going to multiply them, x and x, and that gives you x squared. And then the O in FOIL stands for outside. So the 2 things on the outside of the parentheses would be the x times the 5. So that would be 5x. I in FOIL stands for inside. So 7 times x, so 7x. And then the L in FOIL stands for last. So the 2 things in both last parentheses is 7 and 5. So that's 35. And remember, if you do this right, we should be able to combine those O and I terms, which we can here. So I'm left with x squared, and then 5x and 7x make 12x, and then plus 35. So number 1 would be letter E from the answer box there. And then the other way to do it, like I said, is using a Punnett square. So pretty much just making a square here with 4 boxes. And I like this method because it's really about not missing steps. With FOIL, if you're not writing out the F, the O, the I, and the L, it's pretty easy to miss steps. Here, it's pretty obvious if you miss a step because you have a blank box, and you should never have a blank box. All right, so this first box, we're going to multiply x and x, and we get x squared. The second box here, we're going to multiply x and 9. That gives us 9x. Third box down here, negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And then the last box is negative 4 times positive 9. And that's a negative 36. And kind of the same thing. If you do it right, you should be able to combine the diagonals there. So 9x and negative 4x, yes, they are like terms. We can combine them. And that gives me 5x. And then so I'm left with x squared plus 5x minus 36, which is letter B from the answer boxes. All right. Another reason why I like the Punnett square is because you can't use FOIL on this problem because now there's 3 terms in that second set of parentheses, so they need to come up with another acronym for it, but you can still use a Punnett square on this method. You just have to add an extra line. So here's my x and 5, and then here's my x squared, 4x, and 4. So Punnett square works for all kind of problems, not just when there's 2 numbers in each parentheses. It works when there's 3 and 1, or 2 and 1, or 3 and 3. So this will work for all of them. You just need to make a bigger Punnett square. So here I have x and x squared. That makes x to the 3rd. Here I have x and 4x. That makes 4x squared. X and 4 makes a 4x. 5 and x squared makes 5x squared. 5 and 4x makes 20x, and 5 and 4 makes 20. And same thing, we should be able to combine these diagonals, so x squared and x squared can get combined, and then x and x can get combined. So if I combine those, I'm left with x to the 3rd plus 4x squared and 5x squared makes 9x squared. 4x and 20x makes 24x, and then the 20 is just sitting there at the end, which would be letter B then from the answer square. And the last one's kind of the same thing, except the only part that makes this a little more difficult is it's a minus 7 in that first box there. So you're going to be distributing a negative 7 to everything then. Otherwise, it's pretty much exactly the same. Whoops, 2x plus 1. So x and x squared is x to the 3rd. X and 2x is 2x squared. X and 1 is just x. And now negative 7 times x squared, negative 7 times 2x, and negative 7 times a positive 1. And then same thing, let's combine those diagonals. So x squared and x squared, and then x and x. So I'm left with x to the 3rd minus 5x squared when I combine negative 7x squared and 2x squared, negative 13x when I combine negative 14x and 1x, and then that minus 7, which would be letter K there. So then if we go back and look at the answer to the joke, how did the doe win the race? And the answer to that is by passing the buck.